It seems insurmountable. It seems like this case cannot be settled. Juries don't like liars. Trials are about credibility. Her testimony won't even count. And that is that's a harsh reality, because if the jury chooses not to listen to anything she has to say, she's the best witness in this case.
Have you ever wondered what really happens behind the scenes when a bright, seemingly flawless star like Blake Lively faces accusations that could change everything? Maybe you've heard rumors that she's caught up in a legal mess so big it might tear down her entire Hollywood image. There's been talk of bribes, leaked documents, and strategic PR campaigns that feel more like spycraft than simple damage control. It all sounds outrageous, right? That's exactly why so many people are glued to every new update. No one would have believed the darling of romantic comedies and red carpets would be at the center of whispers about corruption, twisted evidence, and hush money. But if there's one thing that's become clear, it's that the truth is often far stranger than anything Hollywood's best screenwriters could dream up. The first wave of allegations started quietly, little more than vague comments on celebrity gossip boards. Some claimed Lively was pushing a suspiciously long and tangled lawsuit to gain sympathy, while others insisted she was the real victim, fighting to expose a serious injustice. The confusion only grew when mainstream media outlets picked up the story. Suddenly, the actress, who's known for her friendly public persona, appeared in news stories that suggested she might be a completely different person away from the cameras. Every time a headline hinted she'd been dishonest, a contradictory article popped up suggesting there was more to the story. It left fans caught in the middle, unsure whether they were watching a Hollywood star's downfall or a calculated smear campaign designed to ruin her. Then, bizarre details started leaking. According to some sources, what began as a straightforward case, something to do with disagreements on a film set, spiraled into a dramatic saga full of rewritten legal documents, altered statements, and lengths of text so excessive they looked more like a novel than a court filing. Even legal commentators were scratching their heads, commenting that standard lawsuits of this nature are typically around 20 pages. Yet here, Lively's team was submitting a monstrous 180-page complaint. Every edition, they said, seemed aimed at catching media attention rather than laying out a simple argument. Some lawyers speculated that her strategy was to drown the opposition in paperwork, possibly hoping the public would latch onto sensational-sounding claims rather than parse through complicated legal jargon. But the real question was, why? Why would an actress known for her near-perfect image and carefully curated social media presence risk her reputation on a bizarre case that seemed to be falling apart from day one? That's where speculation about hidden motives took center stage. Early on, Lively's team pointed to supposed undeniable video evidence that would prove she'd been manipulated, pressured, or otherwise put into a situation that violated her boundaries. The public, intrigued by the idea of a big name going up against powerful Hollywood insiders, waited to see what might be uncovered. After all, if an A-list celebrity was truly forced into uncomfortable scenes, it would add another chapter to the ongoing conversation about exploitation in the film industry. Yet the moment that rumored footage leaked, everything changed. Far from looking distressed, Lively appeared to be fully engaged, smiling and comfortably participating in what she'd earlier described as an upsetting experience. This was the first time observers and reporters started openly questioning her honesty. Some chalked it up to typical Hollywood editing. Maybe the unedited footage lacked context, or maybe the angle of the camera concealed what she'd been trying to express. But as more details emerged, it became increasingly difficult to ignore that her story about the incident had evolved. Where she'd once claimed one version of events, she now spun a different narrative. Supposedly, the other party wasn't truly in character, and she'd been forced to fake her enjoyment on camera. But critics were quick to retort that this was simply called acting, something that's literally in an actress's job description. As the chatter grew louder, so did the stakes. A few attorneys weighed in, explaining that in legal battles, credibility is everything. A single confirmed lie in testimony can inspire a jury to disregard all of someone's statements. Suddenly, the conversation shifted from, did Lively lie, to if she lied about that, what else might she be hiding? That's when talk of possible bribery surged to the forefront. Certain insiders suggested that Lively's team had tried to sway the legal process itself, going so far as to push for what's called an attorney's eyes-only measure. Basically, a request that crucial documents remain hidden from the public and even from some of the parties involved. Observers were stunned. Why would someone ask for that level of secrecy if there wasn't something explosive in those files? Reports of a mysterious 100 million reasons started swirling, with hints that this could be the sum tied to an attempted payoff. The allegations were never confirmed outright in official records, yet the mere mention of that figure set off alarm bells. People began picturing scenarios where hush money was being passed under the table to bury messages, emails, or texts that might shatter Lively's credibility once and for all. Of course, her supporters labeled such speculation as little more than vicious rumor. They insisted the 100 million chatter was either wildly inflated or completely invented by those determined to paint her as a villain. But let's be honest, in Hollywood, big money often changes hands to keep big secrets from ever seeing the light of day. What made everything more surreal was the discovery that Lively's own PR firm reportedly tried to distance itself from the case. Usually, public relations teams stand by their high-profile clients through the worst storms. If they're suddenly stepping away, refusing to remain on the front lines, it hints that something behind the scenes is so toxic, even seasoned crisis managers want no part of it. Observers then found out that not only had some PR professionals bailed, but Lively and Ryan Reynolds, her equally famous spouse, had allegedly brought in special operatives. Certain rumors describe these individuals as ex-intelligence or highly specialized crisis managers who typically handle government-level controversies rather than a celebrity's personal lawsuit. At that point, it felt more like a spy thriller than an entertainment scandal. Meanwhile, multiple media reports began identifying unusual attempts to subpoena messages from major names, including potential communication with other powerful celebrities. When Taylor Swift's name surfaced as someone whose messages might get dragged into the fray, fans were left dumbfounded. Why on earth would another A-lister's text be relevant? Some speculated the involvement of other big stars might cast light on behind-the-scenes deals or the real power brokers in Hollywood. If Lively was lobbying for specific coverage in major newspapers or using personal connections to hamper negative press, perhaps there was a paper trail linking her to those who could influence or shape her narrative. And if that paper trail existed, an attorney's eyes-only arrangement would be one of the last desperate attempts to keep it hidden. By this point, tabloids and social media were on fire with conflicting takes. Some believed Lively had become a scapegoat for a larger system that constantly uses and discards actresses once they're no longer as profitable. Others perceived her as the architect of her own downfall, someone who tried to weaponize the court of public opinion and got caught in her own stories. Then came the biggest twist: new anonymous witnesses who claimed they too had been wronged by the opposing party. But these individuals weren't named in the lawsuit. Insiders argued it was an old PR trick, float the existence of these alleged victims to ramp up public pressure, but never confirm enough details to let anyone verify the claims. It was a sensational development that briefly grabbed headlines, yet never matured into actual evidence in the official record. Stung by skepticism, Lively's camp needed something else to reignite sympathy. That's when more eyebrow-raising tactics surfaced. Word leaked of HR complaints about the person she was suing, describing toxic positivity, as if being too cheerful on set had morphed into a cardinal sin. Audiences who initially felt protective of Lively suddenly rolled their eyes. Suing someone over forced cheer felt cartoonish, even by Hollywood standards. The phrase toxic positivity ricocheted around social media, leading folks to wonder if the lawsuit had ventured into comedic territory. Sure, celebrities might be forced to hide real issues, but how could they expect viewers to take them seriously if the complaint sounded trivial or contrived? By this stage, many observers were convinced the entire debacle had grown far beyond Lively's original complaints. Instead, they saw it as a war for control of the narrative, a high-stakes PR match between two entrenched Hollywood forces. Legal experts pointed out that lawsuits are rarely just about facts when it comes to famous litigants. They're also about controlling public perception, framing one side as the righteous underdog, and persuading studios, fans, and sponsors that you're still the star they thought you were. If it turned out that Lively had manipulated evidence or tried to bribe a judge, the repercussions could be brutal. Not just losing a lawsuit, but being blacklisted by peers who value their own reputations far more than they value loyalty to one embattled actress. And that's where so many watchers remain today, uncertain, skeptical, and wondering if each new leak or rumor is just more showmanship. Will the truth finally come out? If there's a treasure trove of encrypted messages that prove wrongdoing on Lively's part, one might expect an avalanche of evidence to emerge in court records eventually. But the push for secrecy in the form of attorney's eyes only indicates a fierce determination to hide something. The question is, can Lively's star power and PR budgets outlast the dogged pursuit of truth by attorneys, critics, and even curious fans who comb through every shred of available information? Those who have followed high-profile cases in the entertainment industry know how these stories sometimes end. Often, a settlement abruptly occurs, accompanied by a carefully crafted statement that neither side admits wrongdoing. The public is left guessing what really happened behind closed doors. If Lively does settle, skeptics will say it proves she had something to hide. If she goes to trial, she risks having every single piece of contradictory evidence splayed out for the world to see. Either path is treacherous. Legal analysts believe she's in a no-win situation, settle and look guilty, or go to trial and risk the humiliation of your own words undermining your credibility. And after seeing how many times her story has apparently shifted, onlookers suspect it wouldn't take much for a jury to discount everything she says if they catch even one undeniable fabrication. No matter how it plays out, the storm has already left a path of destruction in Lively's career. Her once pristine image has taken a major hit. Every rumor about hush money, retracted allegations, or conflicting statements echoes far beyond courtroom walls, shaping perceptions that can last for years. Production companies may think twice about hiring an actress whose name now conjures up scandal instead of guaranteed box office returns. Other Hollywood players, actors, directors, producers might keep their distance, wary of being dragged into the next wave of damaging leaks. Even close friends of Lively, some of them global superstars, might be quietly backing away, hoping to avoid having their private messages exposed in these extraordinary subpoenas. Is redemption possible? Historically, celebrities have rebounded from massive controversies. With the right approach, a carefully designed redemption arc can restore favor, at least partially. But that usually requires honesty, humility, and a willingness to accept responsibility. For someone who's still entrenched in a heated legal conflict, admission of any sort might be tantamount to setting off a bomb in her own case. If the goal is to protect herself legally, she may need to maintain her story, no matter how many people doubt it. And that runs the risk of pushing her reputation over the edge. It's a grim loop. To salvage her legal stance, she might have to keep spinning the exact lines that make the public question her sincerity.